Ladies and gentlemen, every single thing you see right now, your house, your car, your clothes, your achievements, will one day fade away. But there is one thing that will never die, never rust, never be taken from you: eternity. The question is, are your eyes fixed on what's passing or on what will last forever? Because if you live only for today, you'll lose strength, hope, and purpose. But if you set your focus on forever, you'll discover a power that no storm can break and no trial can steal. Today, I'm going to show you how to live with your eyes on eternity and unlock a strength that will carry you through anything. Life as we know it is fragile, fleeting, and temporary. The world around us tries to convince us that what we can touch, see, and hold on to is the most important thing we could ever pursue. Yet the truth is, every single thing in this life eventually fades away. Think about it. The house you work so hard to build, decorate, and maintain will one day crumble or belong to someone else. The money that you strive to earn and save will either lose its value, be spent by others, or vanish with the tides of time. Even the bodies we admire, train, and clothe will age, weaken, and eventually return to the dust from which they came. That means if our entire focus is on the temporary things of this life, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. It's like trying to anchor your boat in sand. No matter how much effort you put in, the anchor will slip and the waves will toss you around. That's what happens when we fix our eyes on what is fleeting. We chase after things that cannot hold us, cannot save us, and cannot fulfill us in the long run. When we measure our worth by how many possessions we own, how much money we've collected, or how many people applaud us, we are building our lives on foundations destined to collapse. But when you recognize that eternity is real, permanent, and unshakable, everything changes. Eternity is not a theory, not a religious idea. It's the ultimate reality. Life on earth is short, but forever is long. If you live to be 80, 90, or even 100 years, that is just a drop of water compared to the endless ocean of eternity. And yet many people spend their entire lives preparing for retirement, a season that might last 20 years, while giving no thought to eternity, which will last forever. Let's make it practical. Imagine two workers. One spends years building a temporary tent that will last a few months, pouring all his time, energy, and resources into it. The other spends those same years building a solid, permanent house that will endure through every season. Which one of them was wise? The same is true of how we live. If all our energy goes into the temporary, we will one day stand empty-handed. But if we invest in what lasts forever, we will never regret a single sacrifice. This is why it's so crucial to see beyond the surface. Life is not just about making money, climbing ladders, or achieving recognition. There's nothing wrong with having success, enjoying blessings, or working hard, but those things are not the ultimate purpose of life. They are tools, not destinations. When we forget that, we end up bowing down to idols that cannot sustain us. Success cannot comfort you when life falls apart. Money cannot buy peace when your soul is restless. Fame cannot rescue you when eternity calls your name. So what lasts forever? The word of God lasts forever. His promises never expire. His kingdom never crumbles. Souls last forever. Every person you meet has an eternal destiny. And your faith, your obedience, your relationship with God, your character, these are treasures that death cannot touch. When you fix your eyes on these eternal realities, life takes on a new perspective. Active. You stop stressing over every setback because you realize setbacks are temporary. You stop competing with others because you know only what you've done for God will echo into eternity. You stop clinging to things because you understand they are only on loan for a short season. When your eyes are fixed on eternity, you also live with urgency. Time is not something to waste. Every day is a gift. Every opportunity is sacred, and every decision carries weight. If you knew this life was just a few minutes compared to eternity, how would you spend it? Would you live selfishly, chasing pleasures that fade, or would you invest in things that leave an eternal impact? Fixing your eyes on forever doesn't mean ignoring the present. It means living in the present with eternal vision. It means raising your children not just to be successful, but to be faithful. It means working your job not just for a paycheck, but as a platform to shine the light of God. It means treating people with love, kindness, and grace, because every soul is eternal. When you think this way, even the smallest acts of love and obedience matter, because nothing done for God is ever wasted. The problem is distractions are everywhere. The world keeps shouting at us to look at what glitters, to measure success by what fades, and to chase after things that cannot satisfy. That's why we must deliberately choose to lift our gaze higher. The Bible reminds us, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. That's not just spiritual advice, it's survival. If you live consumed by the temporary, you will be consumed by worry, fear, and disappointment. But when your focus is on the eternal, you walk with peace, strength, and hope. Think about people who leave this world. Have you ever noticed that at the end of life, no one is asking for their bank statement? No one is desperate for one more business deal. No one is clinging to their trophies or degrees. At the end, people want relationships. They want peace with God. They want assurance that their life meant something. That should teach us something. Don't wait until the end of life to realize what really matters. Learn now to live for what lasts forever. When your eyes are fixed on eternity, you will also endure storms differently. Troubles may come, but you won't be crushed. Losses may hit, but you won't lose hope. That's because you understand that everything you go through here is temporary compared to the glory ahead. It's like a runner in a marathon. If they only look at the pain in their legs, they'll quit. But if they keep their eyes on the finish line, they push through the pain. Life works the same way. Eternity is the finish line, and it makes every sacrifice, every struggle, and every act of faith worth it. That's why it's so dangerous to live as if this life is all there is. If you think this world is the final destination, you will constantly try to grab everything now. More money, more pleasure, more recognition, because you believe that's all you'll ever have. But when you know eternity is waiting, you can let go of things, you can forgive, you can serve, and you can live with joy. Even when life doesn't give you everything you wanted, eternity frees you from the prison of temporary thinking. Life is short, but eternity is long. The question is not whether you will live forever. The question is where and with what legacy. Every choice you make here echoes into forever. Every investment into God's kingdom pays eternal dividends. Every act of faith builds treasures that no one can steal. This world will fade, but eternity never will. And when you live with that perspective, you walk in wisdom, courage, and purpose, fixing your eyes not on what is seen, but on what will last forever. Whatever you focus on has the power to shape your entire life. Your focus is like the steering wheel of a car. Wherever it turns, the whole vehicle follows. The direction of your life is not simply deter. Mind by your intentions, your goals, or even your abilities. It is determined by your focus. If your eyes are set on the wrong things, you can have all the potential in the world and still end up in the wrong place. But if your eyes are fixed on what is right, even when life throws obstacles in your path, your direction remains steady. So many people live defeated, frustrated, and confused, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they have allowed their focus to drift. When your eyes are fixed on people's approval, you'll constantly be pulled back and forth by the shifting opinions of others. One day people applaud you and you feel good about yourself. The next day they criticize you and your entire confidence crumbles. Living for approval is like trying to chase the wind. It will never satisfy and it will never give you a stable direction. Others fix their eyes on success alone. They measure their worth by achievements, by climbing ladders, and by reaching milestones. Success in itself is not wrong. It can even be a blessing. But if your focus is only on success, you will sacrifice peace, relationships, and even your own values to get ahead. You'll run after titles while losing your testimony. You'll strive for recognition while neglecting the relationships that truly matter. In the end, you may achieve what you set your eyes on, but it will leave you empty because you aimed at something that cannot last. Some fix their eyes on struggles, and because of that, their entire life becomes defined by pain. If all you see are your problems, then problems will consume you. You'll magnify what went wrong so much that you lose sight of what could go right. Your life will constantly feel heavy, not because your burden is unbearable, but because your focus makes it appear bigger than it really is. A magnifying glass doesn't change the size of an object, it just changes how you see it. And when you fix your eyes on your struggles, you magnify the until they overshadow the promises of God. But here's the truth. When you shift your focus to God and his eternal promises, your life takes a completely different direction. Fixing your eyes on him gives you stability when life is uncertain. It gives you peace when the world is in chaos. It gives you clarity when distractions are everywhere. The scripture tells us to fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Because what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. That means your focus should be anchored in something unshakable, something that cannot be taken away, something that will last forever. When your focus is on eternity, your decisions start to align with what matters most. You no longer waste time chasing things that won't matter 10 years from now, let alone 1,000 years from now. You begin to prioritize relationships over recognition, character over comfort, purpose over pleasure. Every choice you make becomes filtered through a bigger vision, and that vision gives your life direction. Without focus, you scatter your energy in 100 directions and accomplish nothing. With focus, you harness your energy and move forward with purpose. Think about an athlete. If their eyes wander to the crowd, to the competition, or to the scoreboard too early, they lose their stride. But if their focus stays on the finish line, they push forward with everything they've got. Life is no different. The finish line is eternity, and only those who keep their eyes fixed on it will run their race well. The distractions will come: temptations, setbacks, detours, opinions, and even failures. But when your eyes are locked on the eternal, you refuse to let those things define your path. Focus also determines how you handle storms. If your eyes are on the waves, you'll sink under the weight of fear. But if your eyes are on the one who walks on what? You'll rise above the storm. That's why keeping your focus right is not just about direction, it's about survival. The storms of life will come whether you like it or not, but whether you drown in them or overcome them depends on your focus. You can either magnify the problem or magnify the God who is bigger than the problem. Whichever one you choose to fix your eyes on will determine the outcome. Another truth about focus is that it reveals your priorities. Whatever you consistently look at is what you value most. If your eyes are always on money, then money is your God. If your eyes are always on people's opinions, then people are your master. If your eyes are always on your problems, then your problems have become your identity. But if your eyes are always on God, then he becomes your source, your strength, and your guide. Focus is not just about sight, it's about loyalty. Where your eyes go, your heart follows. This is why discipline and focus is so important. You don't stumble into the right direction by accident, you choose it daily. The world is full of distractions designed to pull your eyes away from what truly matters. Entertainment, comparison, envy, greed, all of them fight for your attention. If you don't deliberately fix your eyes on what will last forever, your focus will drift, and with it, your life will drift. No one drifts into purpose. You only reach it by focus. One of the most powerful things about having the right focus is that it brings peace in the middle of pressure. When your eyes are on eternity, you stop panicking about temporary problems. When your eyes are on God's promises, you stop fearing the unknown. When your eyes are on his presence, you stop being enslaved to people's opinions. The focus of your life becomes like an anchor in the storm. It doesn't stop the storm, but it keeps you from being carried away. Focus also empowers your faith. Faith is not blind. It is vision in the right direction. Faith says, I see beyond what my eyes can see. Faith looks past the problem and locks onto the promise. Faith looks past the present and locks onto eternity. That's why your focus and your faith are tied together. If you want strong faith, you need the right focus. If you're constantly looking at what's wrong, your faith will weaken. But if you're constantly looking at who God is, your faith will grow stronger. At the end of the day, the direction of your life is not random. It's determined by your focus. If you want to know where you'll end up, look at what you consistently set your eyes on. The person who focuses on temporary pleasures will end up with temporary satisfaction and long-term regret. The one who focuses on material things will end up with possessions that cannot follow them beyond the grave. But the one who fixes their eyes on eternity will end up walking in purpose, leaving a legacy and gaining treasures that last forever. Pain is something every human being will face. Struggles are a part of life, and none of us can avoid them. It doesn't matter how strong, wealthy, or successful you are. Trials will knock at your door. Sometimes they arrive through sickness, sometimes through betrayal, sometimes through financial hardship, and sometimes through personal failure. And when these storms hit, it's easy to feel like they'll never end, like the weight will never lift, and like your story will always be defined by what you're going through. But that is not the truth. Trials are temporary. They are seasons, not destinies. They may feel heavy now, but compared to the eternity that awaits, they are light and momentary. What changes everything is perspective. If your focus is locked only on the present pain, then that pain will consume you. It will feel unbearable, overwhelming, and permanent. But when you shift your focus to the eternal, suddenly the weight of your struggle shrinks in comparison to the joy that's coming. The scripture reminds us that our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Notice that phrase. It says troubles are achieving. That means they are working for you, not against you. Trials are not just random interruptions. They are tools in the hands of God to shape, prepare, and strengthen you for something greater than you can see right now. Imagine a sculptor working on a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it may look like he is destroying the stone, chipping, cutting, and hammering away. But the sculptor sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike of his tool has a purpose. In the same way, trials may feel like they are breaking us, but in God's hands, they are shaping us. Each challenge is carving away pride, fear, or weakness, revealing the strength, character, and faith He designed in us. Pain is never wasted when your eyes are fixed on eternity. This doesn't mean pain is easy. It doesn't mean we should pretend like it doesn't hurt. Struggles are real and they often cut deep. But what eternity teaches us is that struggles don't have the final word. Sickness doesn't get the last say. Financial hardship doesn't define your destiny. Betrayal doesn't determine your value. Loss doesn't erase your future. All of these things are temporary chapters in a much bigger story. Eternity assures us that there's more to life than what we're facing right now. And when you live with that assurance, you walk through trials differently. Instead of asking, why me? You start asking, what is this preparing me for? Instead of letting struggles break your faith, you let them deepen it. Instead of letting pain isolate you, you let it drive you closer to the one who never leaves. Trials become training grounds. Just as an athlete must endure resistance to build strength, you must endure trials to develop endurance. The heavier the weight, the stronger you become when you learn to lift it. That's why people who have walked through deep valleys often carry the deepest faith. They've learned that even in the darkest seasons, God is still faithful. One of the most powerful truths about trials is that they reveal where your trust really is. When life is easy, it's simple to say, I trust God. But when everything falls apart, that's when your focus is tested. If your trust is in money and money is gone, where do you stand? If your trust is in people and people walk away, where do you stand? If your trust is in your own strength and your strength fails, where do you stand? Trials strip away false anchors and force you to plant your feet on the only foundation that cannot be shaken, God Himself. And once you've stood on that foundation, you discover a strength that no storm can destroy. Eternity also gives trials perspective because it reminds us that rewards are coming. God is not blind to your tears, your sacrifices, or your faithfulness in the middle of pain. Every tear you cry is noticed. Every prayer you whisper is heard, and every act of perseverance is recorded. While the world may overlook your struggle, heaven does not. God promises that those who remain faithful through trials will receive a reward that can never be taken away. That reward is not just in heaven. It begins here with peace that surpasses understanding, with strength that others can't explain, and with joy that exists even in the middle of sorrow. Think about a student studying for a test. The hours of preparation may feel long, tiring, and even frustrating, but when the test is passed and the reward comes, suddenly the effort makes sense. In the same way, your trials are preparing you for eternal glory. One day when you stand in God's presence and hear Him say, well done, every tear, every struggle, and every sacrifice will be worth it. The temporary pain will pale in comparison to the eternal joy. Another reason trials are Temporary is because God sets boundaries around them. Just as he told the sea, you may come this far and no farther. He sets limits on your trials. They will not last 1 second longer than he allows, and they will not take you 1 inch further than he permits. Trials have an expiration date. You may not know when, but God does. And if he allows it, he will also give you the strength to endure it. That's why you can say with confidence, this too shall pass, because it will. But here's the key. Trials are not just meant to be endured. They are meant to be transformed into testimonies. When your eyes are on eternity, you stop hiding your scars and start sharing them as proof of God's faithfulness. You stop seeing your struggle as a source of shame and start seeing it as a platform for ministry. People may not be moved by your successes, but they will be impacted by how you handle your struggles. Your endurance becomes someone else's encouragement. Your victory becomes someone else's hope. And that ripple effect reaches further than you could ever imagine. The enemy wants you to believe that your trial is the end of your story, but eternity tells you it's only a chapter. The enemy wants you to think your pain is meaningless, but eternity says it's producing glory. The enemy wants you to give up in the middle of the storm, but eternity reminds you that the sun will shine again. When your eyes are fixed on forever, you refuse to let temporary pain define your permanent identity. You remember that you are more than a conqueror, not because life is easy, but because God is with you. And that's the ultimate truth. Trials are temporary, but God's presence is eternal. When you walk through fire, he walks with you. When you pass through deep waters, he does not leave you. When you feel weak, he becomes your strength. His presence is the one unshakable constant in the middle of every storm. And when you realize that, your trials stop being prisons and start being classrooms, places where you learn just how faithful God really is. One of the greatest dangers in life is trading eternal treasures for temporary pleasures. It's the same trap that has tripped up humanity from the very beginning. Adam and Eve gave up the eternal fellowship of God in the garden for a moment of disobedience. Esau gave up his birthright, a blessing meant to last generations, for a single meal to satisfy his hunger. And today, countless people exchange what lasts forever for what only satisfies for a moment. It's a trade that always leaves you empty, because temporary pleasures can never deliver on the promises they make. The enemy's strategy has not changed. He always dangles something shiny in front of us, offering comfort, excitement, or satisfaction in the moment, but hiding the cost it will demand in the long run. Sin always looks appealing up front. It promises fulfillment, but delivers emptiness. It promises freedom, but delivers bondage. It promises joy, but delivers regret. The greatest mistake you can make is saying yes to what feels good now and discovering later that it robbed you of what really mattered. When you live with eternity in view, you stop falling for counterfeits. You recognize that what looks attractive now often carries consequences that last far longer than the pleasure itself. A single decision in the moment can alter the course of a life. A choice to compromise integrity may bring short-term gain, but it steals peace, damages relationships, and stains reputation. A choice to chase comfort instead of purpose may feel easy now, but it leaves you unfulfilled and stagnant in the long run. The wisdom of fixing your eyes on forever is that it teaches you to measure choices differently. You stop asking only, will this make me feel good now? And start asking, how will this impact eternity? That shift changes everything. It changes how you use your time, because you realize time is old. They're the most valuable treasures you have, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. It changes how you use your money, because you stop spending only on yourself and start investing in things that outlast you. It changes how you approach relationships, because you stop surrounding yourself with people who only feed your flesh and start walking with people who feed your faith. Temporary pleasures often come with hidden costs. What seems small in the moment can grow into something that changes your life. Think about debt. It promises immediate satisfaction. Buy now, pay later. But the payment is always higher than the pleasure. The same is true spiritually. Sin always has a bill, and the price is always greater than the pleasure it offered. When you fix your eyes on eternity, you stop buying into the lie of instant gratification, because you know the long-term cost is never worth it. But the truth is, this temptation is powerful because it plays on real desires. We all long for joy, fulfillment, satisfaction, and love. Those are God-given desires. The problem is not the desires themselves, but the shortcuts we take to satisfy them. Instead of waiting on God's timing, we grab what's convenient. Instead of trusting his way, we choose our own. Instead of pursuing lasting treasures, we settle for quick fixes. But quick fixes can't heal deep hunger. Only God can. The soul is eternal, and no temporary pleasure will ever be enough to satisfy it. This is why Jesus taught so often about treasures. He said, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. That's a reminder that everything on earth is vulnerable. No matter how much you collect, it can be stolen, it can decay, or it can lose value. But what you invest in eternity, acts of faith, obedience, generosity, and love cannot be touched. It carries eternal weight and it pays eternal dividends. When you think this way, it doesn't mean you stop enjoying life. It doesn't mean you never celebrate, never smile, or never experience good things. It means you don't let temporary pleasures own you. You enjoy blessings without worshiping them. You receive gifts without being enslaved to them. You use resources as tools for God's purpose instead of idols that replace him. You recognize that even good things, family, success, relationships, influence, become destructive when they take the place of God in your life. Choosing eternal treasures over temporary pleasures also changes how you handle temptation. Temptation loses its grip when you weigh it against eternity. If you remember that a few moments of pleasure can't compare to eternal joy, you'll find strength to say no. If you remember that compromise in the dark can cost you rewards in the light, you'll stand your ground. If you remember that every act of obedience echoes forever, you'll stop trading what's priceless for what's passing. Eternity doesn't just prepare you for heaven, it protects you from making foolish decisions here on earth. Another powerful truth is that the temporary can blind you if you're not careful. When your eyes are fixed only on what you can see, you forget the unseen realities that matter most. You start believing the lie that this life is all there is, so you better grab everything now. That's why people chase money, fame, and power so desperately. They think this is their only shot at happiness. But when you know eternity is real, you don't panic to grab what's fading. You live with peace, knowing that your best days are not behind you, not even here. They are ahead in eternity with God. Fixing your eyes on eternal treasures also reshapes your definition of success. Success is not how much you own, how high you climb, or how many people know your name. Success is faith-filled. Well, next, success is obedience. Success is leaving behind something that outlasts you. The world may never applaud you for being faithful, but heaven does. The world may not reward you for acts of kindness, prayer, or sacrifice, but eternity does. And when you measure success that way, you stop feeling the need to compromise for recognition. You stop comparing your life to others. You stop chasing what glitters and start pursuing what matters. There's also a freedom that comes when you stop trading eternal treasures for temporary pleasures. You no longer feel enslaved to trends, opinions, or pressures. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to grasp for more because you know your identity and inheritance are already secure in Christ. You can enjoy life's blessings while keeping your heart anchored in heaven. You can celebrate victories while knowing they are not the ultimate prize. You can endure losses while knowing they are not the final story. Temporary pleasures always fade, but eternal treasures always remain. The party ends, the thrill wears off, the applause stops, the possessions decay. But what you've done for God, what you've given for his kingdom, what you've sacrificed for others, those things are recorded in heaven and last forever. That's why the greatest wisdom is learning to say no to what looks appealing now so you can say yes to what will fulfill you forever. Your life is not just about you. It was never designed to be. Every action you take, every word you speak, every seed you sow leaves an imprint that stretches far beyond your own lifetime. This is why legacy outlives lifespan. What people remember when your name is no longer spoken will not be the car you drove, the clothes you wore, or the titles you held. They will remember how you lived, how you loved, and what values you carried. And most importantly, heaven will record what you did that mattered for eternity. Fixing your eyes on forever means living in such a way that your influence continues long after you are gone. Think about it. The most impactful people in history were not those who collected the most wealth or built the biggest empires. Empires crumble. Wealth disappears, but legacies remain. Abraham's faith still inspires generations, thousands of years later. Paul's letters still transform lives around the world. People who lived centuries ago still shape lives today because they chose to live with eternity in view. The same is true for you. You may not realize it, but the way you live right now is shaping the story others will tell long after you leave this world. Legacy is not built in one grand moment. It's built in everyday choices. How you treat your family, how you handle adversity, how you live when no one is watching. All of these become the building blocks of your legacy. People are always watching, but even more, God is always recording. What you do in secret, He will one day reward openly. That's why living for eternity is not about impressing people. It's about honoring God in ways that will echo long after you are gone. It's easy to live only for the moment. It's easy to think, as long as I'm happy now, that's all that matters. But that kind of thinking is short-sighted and shallow. If all you focus on is your own comfort, then when you are gone, nothing of value will remain. You might have had a good time, but your life will not have left an imprint. Fixing your eyes on forever means you think differently. You live for impact, not just for comfort, for influence, not just for indulgence. Legacy also flows through people. The way you raise your children, the way you mentor others, the way you invest in relationships, these become part of your eternal footprint. You may never preach a sermon to thousands, but the values you instill in your children or the encouragement you give to one person, it may ripple through generations. Some of the greatest legacies are not written in history books, but in the lives of people quietly changed by faithfulness, love, and sacrifice. When you understand legacy, you stop chasing applause and start chasing significance. Applause fades. Crowds move on, but significance remains. The world may not reward you for being a faithful parent, a loyal friend, or a humble servant, but eternity does. Heaven takes notice of every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every sacrifice of love. Those moments may seem small now, but they become treasures that outlast time itself. Living with legacy in mind also changes how you endure trials. Instead of asking only, how can I get out of this? You begin asking, what will this leave behind? Your perseverance can inspire someone else to keep going. Your faith in the middle of hardship can become the story that strengthens someone else's walk with God. Your resilience can plant seeds of courage in people who are watching. Legacy is not built when life is easy. It's built when life is hard and you still choose to walk in faith. The danger of ignoring legacy is that you end up living a wasted life. You may have fun, you may collect things, you may even be admired for a season, but when the dust settles, nothing of eternal value remains. Jesus once said, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? You could gain all the possessions, recognition, and power in the world, but if your life doesn't point toward eternity, it leaves nothing behind. That's why it's possible to be successful in the eyes of people, but a failure in the eyes of God. Legacy is not about earthly success. It's about eternal significance. One of the most sobering truths is that your life is preaching a sermon, whether you realize it or not. Your choices, your actions, your words, they are all teaching those around you what you believe and what matters most to you. If you live for temporary pleasures, others will learn to do the same. If you live selfishly, others will be influenced by your example. But if you live for eternity, others will see faith in action, and that becomes a sermon they can never forget. Sometimes the most powerful messages are not spoken on a stage, but lived in everyday life. Legacy is also about stewardship. God has given you gifts, resources, time, and influence, not just for yourself, but to invest into His kingdom. How you use what He has entrusted to you determines the kind of legacy you leave. If you bury your gifts in fear or waste them in selfishness, you rob yourself and others of what could have been. But if you sow your gifts faithfully, even in small ways, God multiplies them. A seed planted today may not grow into a tree until long after you are gone, but generations will benefit from the shade of your obedience. Another dimension of legacy is character. People may forget what you achieved, but they will never forget who you were. Were you honest? Were you kind? Were you forgiving? Did you walk in integrity? Did you love deeply? Did you live faithfully? Those are the questions people will ask when your name is mentioned. Titles and accomplishments may be erased by time, but character leaves a mark that nothing can erase. That's why fixing your eyes on eternity calls you to guard your character more than your reputation. Reputation is what people say about you now. Character is what will echo forever. Legacy also confronts the fear of insignificance. Many people believe they don't matter, that their lives won't make a difference, that they are too small to leave an impact. But that is a lie. Every life matters. Every action carries weight. You may never see the full impact of your faithfulness here on earth, but eternity reveals the ripples you created. The encouragement you gave, the prayer you prayed, the act of service you offered, they all create waves that continue long after you're gone. Legacy is not about being famous. It's about being faithful. When you live with eternity in mind, you stop asking, how can I make my name great? And start asking, how can I make God's name known? You realize the goal is not for people to remember you, but for people to remember Him through you. True legacy is when your life points beyond itself to the eternal God who never changes. That's why those who fix their eyes on eternity never really die. Their influence continues to live on because it was never about them in the first place. It was always about the one who lives forever. When your eyes are fixed on eternity, you find a strength for today that nothing in this world can take away. Life is full of challenges, unexpected losses, disappointments, betrayals, setbacks, and struggles that make you question whether you have the energy to keep moving forward. If your focus is on the temporary, those struggles will drain you, discourage you, and eventually defeat you. But when your focus shifts to forever, you realize that what you're facing is not the end of your story. Eternity gives you perspective, and perspective gives you power. It transforms how you see your circumstances, how you endure trials, and how you rise above the weight of this world. When you know that eternity is real, you stop living as if every difficulty is permanent. You may be in a valley right now, but valleys don't last forever. You may be walking through fire, but the fire is not your final destination. You may be in a storm, but storms always pass. Eternity reminds you that whatever you are facing is temporary, but the strength you gain, the faith you develop, and the character God shapes in you will last forever. This truth gives you the ability to press forward when everything around you is screaming to give up. Strength for today doesn't come from ignoring reality. It comes from seeing reality through the lens of eternity. For example, when ours look at trials, they see obstacles. But when you look with eternal eyes, you see opportunities. Opportunities to grow, opportunities to trust, opportunities to display God's faithfulness. What others call the end, you can call the beginning, because eternity assures you that God is still writing your story. That perspective changes your attitude, and your attitude determines your strength. Think about how hope works. Hope is not wishful thinking. It's confidence in what is to come. If you have no hope, you have no strength because you have nothing to look forward to. But when your eyes are fixed on what God has promised, hope rises, and with hope comes strength. You stop being crushed by what is happening around you because you know what's waiting ahead of you. That's why people who live with eternity in their vision can endure storms that break others. They're not stronger because they don't feel pain. They're stronger because they see beyond the pain. Eternity also gives you courage to stand when the world pressures you to compromise. If all you think about is the here and now, it's easy to bend your values just to fit in or avoid conflict. But when you remember that every choice echoes into forever, you find courage to stay true even when it costs you. You stop asking, what will people think? And start asking, what will God say? That shift fills you with the strength to live with integrity, even in a world where compromise is celebrated. Another way eternity strengthens you is by breaking the chains of fear. Fear thrives when you believe this life is all there is. Fear says, what if I lose it all? What if I fail? What if I don't measure up? But when you know eternity is real, fear loses its grip. Even if you lose everything here, you know it cannot touch what God has prepared for you. Even if people reject you, you know you are eternally accepted by Him. Even if death itself comes, you know it is not the end. It's the doorway to eternal life. That kind of confidence gives you a boldness that no earthly circumstance can destroy. Strength for today also comes through the peace that eternity brings. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of perspective. You can be surrounded by chaos and still walk in peace because you know the chaos is not forever. You can face uncertainty without panic because you know your destiny is secure. You can go through loss without losing yourself because you know God restores and eternity heals. Peace is powerful because it quiets the noise around you and allows you to hear the voice of God clearly. And once you hear his voice, you can walk with confidence even through the darkest valley. Fixing your eyes on forever also energizes your purpose. When you understand that your life has eternal significance, you stop wasting time. Every day becomes an opportunity to sow seeds that will outlast you. Every moment becomes a chance to live in such a way that heaven will record it. Purpose fuels passion, and passion fuels strength. You no longer drag yourself through life wondering if what you do matters. You rise every day knowing it matters eternally. That knowledge puts fire in your spirit and stamina in your steps. Another source of strength from eternity is joy. Not the shallow happiness that depends on circumstances, but deep joy that flows from knowing your eternity is secure. Joy says, even if life is hard now, my story ends in victory. Joy says, even if people walk away, God will never leave me. Joy says, even if my body fails, my spirit will rise forever. That kind of joy cannot be stolen by trials, and it cannot be diminished by loss. It becomes a well of strength you can draw from again and again, no matter what comes your way. Eternity also changes how you fight your battles. When your eyes are fixed on the temporary, you fight in your own strength and eventually you run out of energy. But when your eyes are fixed on forever, you fight differently. You fight with faith, not fear. You fight with prayer, not panic. You fight with the word of God, not the opinions of people. And when you fight with eternal weapons, you discover a strength that outlasts every attack. The battle may be fierce, but the victory is already guaranteed in Christ. One of the most practical ways eternity gives you strength is by helping you prioritize. So many people are exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they're pouring energy into things that don't matter. They're busy chasing shadows, investing in what won't last, and wondering why they feel empty. But when you fix your eyes on eternity, you focus your strength on what really counts. You invest in people, in faith, in love, in truth, things that will outlast time itself. And because you're no longer scattering your energy in 100 directions, you find renewed strength to pursue what matters most. Eternity also transforms how you view setbacks. To someone focused only on the present, a setback feels like failure. But to someone focused on forever, a setback is just a setup for growth. You realize that detours don't cancel destiny, delays don't deny purpose, and failures don't define identity. Every setback becomes an opportunity for God to demonstrate his power. That realization strengthens you to keep going even when the road gets rough, because you know every step is leading you closer to what lasts forever. When your focus is on eternity, you stop being enslaved by comparison. Comparison drains strength because it makes you feel either inferior or superior. You waste energy measuring yourself against others instead of running your own race. But eternity reminds you that you are not in competition with anyone. Your assignment is unique, your race is specific, and your reward is eternal. That realization frees you from the exhausting cycle of comparison and strengthens you to pour all your energy into the path God has set before you. Finally, eternity strengthens you because it connects you with the presence of God himself. His spirit is your helper, your comforter, and your guide. He empowers you to endure trials, to resist temptation, and to rise above discouragement. And because his spirit is eternal, the strength he gives never runs dry. Every day, he renews you from the inside out. While your outward body may be wasting away, inwardly you are being renewed day by day. That renewal is what keeps you strong, not just for the future, but for today